You are very welcome back. I am Lora O'Brien and this is Living Irish Witchcraft. As this episode goes live, we're just after the longest night of the year. The Winter Solstice doesn't land on a fixed date, never has. Sometimes it's the 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd. What matters isn't the number on the calendar. What matters is the turn. For me, the solstice is marked by vigil, always has been. I keep watch through the darkness, not as a performance, not as a ritual for show. Often I'm just on my own, but it's a practice of attention for me. Sitting with the long night, letting it be whatever it is. And then when the time comes, greeting the returning light in the morning. That's something I've done for many years now in different places, in different stages of my life, rural and urban, with other people and alone, with joy, with grief. It's a practice that has deepened as I've aged, not because it's become more elaborate, but because I understand it better. The longest night is not something to rush through. Irish tradition doesn't treat darkness as a mistake or evil. Winter isn't a failure of summer. The night isn't an enemy of the day. In our culture, we know how to sit with darkness, with hardship, with waiting, with silence, with things that can't be fixed immediately. In episode 1, What Makes Irish Witchcraft Irish, I talked about this tradition as something that's lived, not imagined. And in episode 2, The Land You Stand On, we spoke about paying attention to what's actually happening, rather than forcing any meaning onto it. Now, the solstice brings those threads together. You can't fake it, you can't hurry it. You absolutely have to meet it as it is, in the dark, and you wait. That waiting matters. Modern spirituality often treats light as something that you can summon, manifest, or claim. Irish witchcraft takes a different approach. Light returns because the world turns, because cycles hold, because life continues, even when things feel stalled or stripped back. So for me, keeping vigil through the longest night isn't about bravery or endurance. I've talked about it for a few years and other people have started to take it up, and it's kind of become a bit like an ordeal Olympics, where, oh, well, Laura does this, so I have to do it. And that's not what it's about. It's about honesty. You sit with what's been hard this year. You sit with what you've lost, what didn't work, what had to be let go of. And you don't demand that it transforms into something inspiring on the spot, because that's not how change happens. Now, if you're listening to this at some point that isn't the morning after the longest night, that's grand. These lessons of darkness turning into light are relevant for every single day. Every day we have this. Obviously, it's a big cycle, it's impactful during the winter solstice, of course. But every day there is this transition, there is this turning, there is this change. And every day you can ride the waves of that cycle. You can tap into the power of this transformation. In Irish culture, winter was a time of story, of reflection, of taking stock. Food may have been rationed because obviously, you can't just go to the shops. Things have to actually last you through the winter. So when you get the crop in during the harvest, when you cull the animals at Samhain and make sure that you have your meat preserved for over the winter, there had to be some amount of rationing through that. Movement was limited. People stayed close to one another. And there was always this understanding that survival itself was an achievement. The return of the light wasn't some abstract hope, it was practical relief. And that gives us a very different framework for solstice magic. So, we're not doing toxic positivity. We don't do that. This isn't about This isn't about pretending that everything will be fine. It's about recognizing that even in the hardest seasons, the darkest of nights, the conditions for change are quietly forming. Underground, unseen, patient. And that's the kind of light that Irish witchcraft works with. That gathering, that amassing of energy, that slow, slow burn until the blaze. So today, rather than a vigil that you have to keep all night, I want to offer you a small light working that you can do wherever you are, rooted in that same understanding. So it could be that you're doing it on the morning of the solstice, if you're on the ball and, keeping up with the podcast release. Grand. I'm hoping to do an episode every Sunday, so stick with me. You could do it, though, any morning. So it's going to be relevant wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this in the year, okay? This isn't a practice that's about personal gain or wish fulfillment, though. It's about aligning yourself with the return of light in a way that's honest, ethical, and connected to the wider world. So before we do that, one more thing just needs saying. Light magic in an Irish context is never just about the self. Light returns for everyone. It doesn't pick favourites. The light comes for all. If your magic is only ever about improving your own comfort while ignoring the realities around you, it's missing something absolutely vital. We talk about the Irish context here, but there's a big wide world out there. Witchcraft is not safe to practice everywhere in the world. There are people who are literally being murdered for the practice of witchcraft. And when we're doing magic, we are doing it from a place of privilege. So I want you to understand that, and to understand that it is always the context of what we're doing here. Irish witchcraft has always existed. Irish witchcraft has always existed alongside social reality. That's poverty, that's colonisation, that's community care, that's resistance, that's survival. And the returning light doesn't ever erase those things. It just gives us enough visibility to act. So here's the working. You will need something, a little tool, a single candle if you have it, or if that's not possible, just any small steady light, a lamp, phone torch, something simple, but a candle would be best if at all possible. Stand or sit comfortably, place the light in front of you, take a breath, and before you light it or, turn it on, say, "This light is not mine alone." Then light the candle or switch on the light. Pause and say, "As the light returns to the world, may clarity return where there has been confusion. May warmth return where there has been hardness. And may I act with integrity in the days ahead." And now sit with the light for a few moments. You don't need to visualize anything dramatic. Just notice the flame, the glow, the fact that the dark is not total. Take as much time as you need. And when you're ready, close with, "I welcome the return of the light, and I accept the responsibility it brings." Now, that last line matters because light does bring us responsibility. It's the responsibility to see clearly, to act consciously, to notice where change is needed, not just where it's comfortable. This isn't a once-off spell. It's not just a ritual that you pull out for solstice every year, right? It's a marker. You can repeat it on the morning of the solstice, of course, or any time in the days after as the light begins its slow return. Let it be quiet. Let it be real. Now, if this episode resonated for you, and if you're interested in using magic not just for personal steadiness but for ethical engagement with the world, I have put together a free resource that you might find helpful. It's called Magic for Social Change, a short practice pack for Irish witchcraft. It is a simple PDF guide grounded in the same principles that we talk about here. No fluff, no performative activism, just practical magic approaches that stay rooted in Irish ethics and, personal responsibility. So you can download it for free at irishpagan.school/magic-toolkit. Toolkit, TOOLKIT. And we don't use a K on magic, so it's MAGIC. There's a link below wherever you're listening to this. It costs nothing and it's there to support careful, accountable practice. So that's all for today. Mind yourself through the dark days, whether that is the darkness of winter or an emotional darkness that you're dealing with. And remember, don't rush the light. It knows when to return. Slán go fóill, I will see you next time.